everybody on the screen here. So we'll start with David, please.
Yeah, Mike, when you've gotten off to slow starts in these first two games, when you hit a stretch like this, do you emphasize it in practice going into that next game, or do you really handle it much differently so not to call too much attention to it?
I'll just tell you, one of the things I mentioned to the team today about, starting fast. It's just like anything in this game. Everything you need to focus on is the mental and the emotional aspect of the game. I've never been part of a football game where an offense or defense said, "Hey, I'm going to go out there and start physically slow today." So it's not a physical emphasis. It's we just got to make sure our focus is tight and get into the speed of the game. And obviously it's always more beneficial when you come out playing faster than your opponent. But the reality is this is a very good football team, an experienced football team, and particularly their offense, the way they're playing, their defense has excellent veteran leadership. So we need to get in there and just play Dallas Cowboy football from the first step and just focus. Make sure emotionally we're disciplined and mentally disciplined, and win the pre-snap. Those types of things. So talk openly about it, coach it every single day, and I look forward to carry over Sunday.
Hi, this is Tyler Till. What's the Marcus Lawrence status? I know he didn't practice yesterday. And regarding simplifying things, I know Everson Griffin talked about going back to putting his hands on the ground as a pass rusher. Is that something DeMarcus is going to do as well?
Well, first off, DeMarcus had a good day of practice yesterday, so he's progressing, very well. And as far as the 3-point stance, 2-point stance, we're fully aware of the players that played in the 3-point exclusively in the past. There's a reason for the 2-point stance situationally, but at the end of the day, the players, particularly the veteran players, will be in the preferred stance, and that's always been the case, since the introduction of the defense. So, we need to do a better job of getting things communicated, get ready to go, and just go play football.
Jory?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Coach, how are Trayvon and DeMarcus doing, and what do you expect from them on Sunday, health-wise?
Trayvon and DeMarcus? They both practiced very well yesterday, so as long as they can hit the practice field tomorrow, I think they'll be ready to go.
And what's the challenge when you've had so many defensive backs who have been banged up of making sure that the unit grows early in the season, but also has some degree of consistency?
Well, that's a great question, and it's the challenge of when you go through injuries, particularly when you have multiple injuries at one position. So it's really. The focus really goes on trying to make sure the group, or the unit, more importantly, has a chance to be productive and have the production to win the game. So I think it's stating the obvious. Anytime an offensive line has consecutive 16, 17, 18 starts in a row, that leads to an excellent offense and an excellent football team. No different secondary. When those guys are playing week in and week out, you're gonna see a very highly productive secondary, and you can go through every position that way, because so much of what we do, and it's the reality of football, is playing in every single day with the guy next to you, and it's just all the nonverbal, the connection that they have and the ability to play off each other, and and we're working through the early stages of that for our football team, obviously with, just kind of where we are as far as being together in pads.
Hey, Mike, I'm just curious. You mentioned C.D. Lamb's play late in the Atlanta game, handing the ball to the ref. Is that kind of a sign that he understands time and score maybe more than some other rookies do? And I'm wondering, with rookies, when they come in and succeed right away, is there any kind of common trait that those guys have that you've noticed over the years?
Definitely. I think CD is mature beyond his years. You can see it from day one. Clearly understands, the components of being a professional, just the way he communicates, the way he goes about the meetings, the way he interacts, the way he asks questions. So his practice ethic is very high. He does have an understanding of the game, so as far as being well coached at Oklahoma or high school, but he's a very smart, instinctive, aware football player, and that's there's no surprise that he makes that play, against Atlanta, because he's exuded that from day one.
Playing off, Mike, what you were just talking about on the offensive line, would you say that position group was most affected versus any other with the affected off-season and preseason?
Definitely. I think line play in general, both offense and defensively, is the biggest challenge in the new CBA, post 2011 era. It's well stated, well documented. I know something that, when I was part of the committees, the coaching committees, it was a constant discussion of how can we help these offensive, defensive linemen in the offseason, because really their first real training is training camp. So, so that going into this challenge that group was going to be challenged. Our particular situation, with the injuries to three tackles, I'm actually proud of the way our guys have responded.
And it seemed early in that game last week that Dak had a little pressure in it. It just seemed like you all were a little more interested in getting the ball out of his hands quickly early in the game, but it seemed like as the game developed, you got more comfortable with shots down the field and stuff like that. Did you feel like the line progressed even within that game, and how does that make you feel about it going forward, depending on the injury situation?
I felt the offensive line did everything we needed to do to put us in position to win. We had some plays early, and I think, a part of it was with the ball was on the ground, and, it's like any big play in the game of football. There is an emotional effect, a motivational charge to the team that creates the big play, and obviously the opponent of that situation, definitely is on the rebound in the area of momentum. So, that's part of it. But I think the stats speak the story, where the fact of, I think it was the last 7 out of 8 series that we had in the game, we scored. So, and like anything, it always starts up front. I thought our O-line played very well down the stretch.
Calvin?
Hey, Mike. You got some health issues on the secondary. How do you see Carr and Worley? Can you see them both playing corner and safety a lot more than usual on Sunday because of your health issues in the secondary?
Been very impressed with both those guys, and I'll just say this, they're both ready to go. They're chomping at the bit. They want to contribute. They want to play. So we've been working both those guys in at both corner and safety. So how it unfolds Sunday, that's to be seen. But been very pleased with the practice, and just the urgency that they both have to get on the field.
Michael Gelkin?
Lyle Collins is first eligible to resume practice next week.
Where is he? Was that the question?
Will he resume practice next week? Will his window start off injured reserve?
Well, that determination hasn't been set yet. So I just noted in the training room meeting yesterday, he's making progress. So we'll see what next week leads us.
Brad?
Mike, I'm sure you're aware of Cooper's unusual home and road splits. Have you come across anything to account for that?
I can't really comment a whole lot on what happened last year. I'm only focused on each and every day here, and I think Amari's had one of his better weeks of practice. He's had a couple things to deal with there through training camp. So just looking for him to play at a high level this Sunday.
Mickey?
Mike, you said Tyron Smith would work with the rehab group yesterday. How did that go, and what are your thoughts on him possibly being available on Sunday?
Tyron's making progress. He's getting better. I think really the test will be tomorrow's practice. So we'll see how that goes.
And could you give me just kind of a quick update on how you felt Brandon Knight did out there at left tackle when he'd been used to playing right tackle?
I think he did some really good things. Just the fact that he played there on short notice speaks volumes about Brandon. So, looking for him to, potentially take a step, off of his play last week. But I think anytime you have an injury that happens on Friday that you have to make adjustments and a player steps up, I think it's a real credit to him.
Ed?
Mike, you've coached one of the biggest gamblers at the quarterback position in history in Brett Favre, and then more recently you've coached two guys who really take care of the ball, in Aaron Rodgers and Dak Prescott. What difference does that make when you're calling plays and preparing a quarterback during the week for a game like this?
Well, I think every game is its own entity. I really believe that, but ball security is a philosophy that everybody in the league coaches to. I mean, that's the part of how you want to play the game. Some teams are better at it than others. Some quarterbacks are better at it than others. So, I mean, it's an emphasis, clearly, no doubt. I think when you look at history and what history will tell you as far as the turnover ratio, over the course of my career, I think the stats speak for themselves. But the fact of the matter is, we're -2 right now as a football team, and that's clearly not going to cut it. So that definitely falls in a category of beating yourself. So it's important for us to take care of the football, take the ball away. Seattle is very good at going after the football on special teams and their defense. So we need to take care of that thing. But on the other side of it, we need to get the ball out. Make breaks on the ball when Russell gives us a chance, but we got to generate some fumbles Sunday.
I guess I didn't ask my question very well. In terms of just valuing a quarterback who you can trust to take care of the football and the decisions he makes with it, how much do you appreciate that aspect of a quarterback?
Well, I mean, I'll just make it clear, as far as my time with Brett, Aaron, and now Dak. I mean, all three of those guys are trusted at the fullest level that you possibly can with the game plan. And I think anytime you play wide open with your quarterback, I think that speaks to how you feel about them running the offense. So, to answer your question specifically, it gives you great value. I mean, you don't think about holding back on anything because when you are concerned about ball security or the experience level of the quarterback in the pocket, what will he do with the ball out of the pocket? It definitely makes you pull back some and try to be scheme correct. Where, in our case, we're scheme wide open with Dak, and that's a big part of how we want to play on offense.
Thank you.
David?
Yeah, Mike, you were mentioning yesterday about how, this game was going to be 11 on 11 because Seattle wouldn't have the fans there. Do you feel because they won't have fans and that's been such an advantage for them that this is as good of an opportunity as you can have going into Seattle to face a Seahawks team?
I think that the opportunity that's presented with Sunday's game is the one component outside of the most important component, and that's the players on the field playing, and the decisions that are made around them is not going to factor. So I mean, in the true reality from my perspective is I never really concern myself in things that don't factor in the game. So it's 11 on 11. This is a huge challenge for us. Where we are in our season, and it's important for us to do the right things. But I think stating the obvious, playing up there without noise is definitely preferred.
Mike, yesterday you mentioned that, or you co-signed that this is a measuring stick game, possible measuring stick game. Some people would say it's too early in week 3. Why is it not too early to have a measuring stick game in week 3?
I really don't have an opinion on what people think if it's if it is a measuring stick. I don't know if it's too early. I frankly don't know if it's too late. I think those things normally are brought up later in the season. I think which would be an agreement of what you're stating. But the biggest thing that I'm measuring is our self-scout. Are we doing the things necessary to put our players in position to be successful each and every play? Are the players doing the things necessary from a communication perspective and alignment perspective to be successful? And can we create the continuity and consistency that's necessary to win? So that's really the measuring stick that I'm looking after. And we've spoken about the opponent and the things we need to do, but it's important for this Dallas Cowboy team to take a step in the right direction as far as our production, our discipline, particularly with the football, and the ability to make big plays, because I think big play production is going to be a key statistic in the outcome of this game.
Jory?
Mike, when you think of the psychological aspect of ball security, is that something that you look at last week's game and say, okay, right before the game this week, we want to remind our players about keeping the football close? Or is it more, don't fight them out, just prepare them during practice and their position coaches can handle it? What's your philosophy on the psychological aspect?
Well, it's a fundamental, and we review fundamentals each and every week. There's a time of a week that we do that, and that's been done. So our players have seen every takeaway that we've had, every takeaway opportunity that we've been part of. They've seen every giveaway and every giveaway opportunity. So to me, that's coaching. Just staying on top of the specifics is something that we'll always do.
Todd?
Yeah, Mike, I was wondering, with this being the second road trip, what did you learn from the trip to LA that maybe something that you won't do this time or something that you will do this time based on what you experienced going out there week 1? In terms of structure and things, or however you laid things out.
Our schedule in LA, I like the schedule. We actually left a little later. We're leaving at 2:00, so I'm interested to see the transition from the practice to a 2 p.m. departure. It's a significant ride out there to the airport, so you always worry about that. And there's some mechanics, getting on a bus, going through the screening. It takes time. So, we had a few people that were challenged to stay on time, so we need to be doing a better job of that. So I've talked about that today. But the flow of the travel and the arrival to the hotel, I was pleased with. I mean, it's different. I mean, it's every hotel is going to be different. Every setup is not going to be normal because of COVID, and it was good to get that first week road game under our belt, and I think it'll go smoother this time because we definitely know what to expect.
That's it, Coach.
Okay, thank you.